Hey there guys, my name is Adrenaline, aka the Alolan Snorlax, and today I've got a kind of team building video guide showcase thing. I built the team already, I'm just going to show you it. So it's for double battles, it's not VGC, as you might see we have two Pokemon that aren't native to Alola, being Azumarill and Hydreigon, but it's something for you people who are kind of bored of using Tapu Koko, Garchomp and Celesteela in every game. So I've kind of been working on a team with Alolan Muk over like the last few days. Was half inspired by some people on Discord who were talking about an all toxic team. This did have like Salazzle, Toxapex, some other things on the team, but it just doesn't seem to work. Like you just get pushed over too fast. So I decided to make this more of like a, doubles team that revolves around Power of Alchemy. Now, if you didn't know what Power of Alchemy does, it's basically Receiver. So you could also use Persimmon on this team. Basically what Power of Alchemy is when a Pokemon next to it faints, you take its ability. And there's some pretty decent synergy or ideas that go with this. So you can kind of see what I've gone for in some of the ideas already if you're looking at the team. But of course we're just going to get into Muk first. So it's like, actually, let me change something. You need this. Watch this. In one simple step, I will improve your team. Yeah, so in doubles, Protect is just so nice. Like, I would curse up, and then I'd be like under half health because I'm so slow. Like, I'm Muk, like I'm base 50 speed. And then like next turn, Tapu Koko or Garchomp Earthquake, or you get outsped by everything. And having Protect, or just like the ability to take up some hits while you changing out, or you're taking out one of theirs, things like that. I feel like Curse isn't very good in the doubles format. So we'll run in Poison Jab and Crunch. These will be your stab moves. And then some priority in Shadow Sneak for when Tapu Lele isn't on the field because of Psychic Terrain. EVs are obviously quite standard. You could change them to have some special defense instead of attack, but I kind of like max attack at the moment. Max attack Adamant takes out a lot of things. It also does a lot of damage to mons like Tapu Lele, for example. So with that in mind, we will move on to some of its partners. The first one I thought of was Trevenant. You might have seen that Muk is holding the Lumberry. I like holding the Lumberry on it, and I also like having a Trevenant because it obviously has access to Harvest. This could also be Alolan Exeggutor, but then you start really, you start getting more of an ice-sided weakness and, fairy weakness. So I shied away from Alolan Exeggutor and went for the Trevenant. It's very annoying to get a Harvest one, but I did manage to do it. So we're running the Will-O-Wisp. We've got Dual Stab, and again, I just threw Poison Jab. Yep, Poison Jab's nice and consistent. Does a lot of damage to all the Tapus, and you get a lot of health back from Horn Leech, and obviously Citrus and Harvest synergize really well together. So again, you could decide to just go more defensive in the EVs. You could go into defense to take a dark attack. Same with special defense, but I do like the power because like you can really overwhelm your opponents because a lot of these mons aren't fast, but they're bulky, and then they can just smack back really hard. So we'll go into another Pokemon. This is the this is Azumarill. Again, I've got a thing with berries on this team. Like, I want to get the Belly Drum off. It takes some damage if you switch into the right thing, like an Ice Beam or something, and then you Belly Drum, and then you get the Figgy Berry. You can't run multiple Citrus Berries, so huge power. Huge power is basically get the Belly Drum off, Aqua Jet stuff until you die. When Muk is on the field and it gets huge power, like that is crazy. It just becomes so strong. Again, it's like the Persimmon tactic. It's 105 base attack. You have priority. You have really strong stab moves, and it's the same with Azumarill. He can Aqua Jet and do like 30% to Garchomp before Belly Drum. So if you get the Belly Drum off and they have like Garchomp and stuff on the field, they have to go into your Azumarill. So again, you have free time to do stuff with Muk. You basically get a free hit in some situations. So again, I just go for the bulk. Give it a speed EV if you want it to outspeed the Muk, because they're the same base stats. It doesn't matter too much though. This is just 4 EVs, sorry. And yeah, another good ability that Muk can take over, decent moveset that works. Substitute is more of like a I want my Figgy Berry thing, but you could run a different move if you wanted. Maybe even Waterfall. But in most situations where you'd use Waterfall, you'd use Play Rough instead. So anyway, enough of Azumarill. Let's go on to Hydreigon. So, I spoke about Garchomp. This thing with a Scarf, its job is to outspeed Garchomp. It's to scare Garchomp and threaten the Choice Scarf. Obviously, Garchomp has base 102. It would also need to be Jolly and Max Speed and Scarf to outspeed Hydreigon. And Hydreigon is notoriously known for being Scarfed. So it's like, I'm Scarfed, by the way. So you have to force them to switch, or they have to risk the Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor kills, like, obviously. I'm not sure if Dragon Pulse kills, I think it's a roll. But yeah, this threatens Garchomp out in a lot of situations. It also has very decent coverage moves across the board. I think this is the best moveset. For example, Dark Pulse is just powerful stab. A lot of annoying ghost types, and obviously Oranguru. This threatens them out too. Fire Blast is for like Kartana, other Steel Grass types that evade me right now. And U-Turn hits Dark types, gives you some initiative into what's going on. And I almost one-hit a Mega Absol with it, so yeah, there's that. Of course, it gets Levitate, which is the main idea that I realised this was a genius idea, because Muk with Levitate gets rid of its only weakness, which is ground. So a Muk with no weaknesses is really tanky, really tanky. So again, enough about Hydreigon. Let's go into another check to like strong things. So for example, Garchomp, this thing can fake out, get his Flame Orb, and then close combat. Also has access to Wide Guard for the whole Tapu Koko Garchomp thing, and Knockoff. All very strong moves. Well, these two are strong. Obviously, it has Fake Out utility in priority, and the free flinch, and then yeah, Wide Guard. Wide Guard is just really strong. You can run Bullet Punch if you want more priority, but I think if you go too heavily into priority, you're basically asking Tapu Lele to switch in and just, like, you know, psychic your entire team to death. Even Dazzling Gleam. This team does have some, like these two, for example. They died to Tapu Lele straight up. I know Hariyama's quite tanky in its like raw HP stat, and some people would run Assault Vest over Flame Orb for that. But yeah, Fake Out is just so nice. Close combat with the Guts boost. Knock Off with the Guts boost. Wide Guard is again utility, and some of these moves are like move tutor, so I would run Bullet Punch, but I think you can't. No, you can't actually get it yet because it's a egg move. You can only breed it from, you know, stuff like Infernape. Yeah, Infernape and something else that I forget. So never mind that. We do run Wide Guard, and then the last one is going to be Mega Sizzle. So I was talking about Tapu Lele. This is our answer for Tapu Lele. It's also our answer for the Tapus in general, to be honest. Like, this takes on Tapu Koko, does about 80% to Tapu Koko with Iron Head. It OHKOs Tapu Lele, and it 2-hit KOs Tapu Bulu with either of these two. You also have the Bullet Punch and the Roost. Now, in the EVs, I've gone a bit more into Spadef because HP Fire from Tapu Lele has a chance to kill if you're not invested. And it may also be specs, so these help you survive. They also mean that you take around 50 to 60% from Tapu Koko Thunderbolt instead of, like, you know, dangerous numbers like 70, 80%. And yeah, you can run a dark move over Roost, you know, Brutal Swing for example. But it's a coverage move, and of course, coverage moves do less damage. And you'd only really run it for Aegislash. Yeah, I think it's basically just for Aegislash and Mimikyu to an extent, but it's still weak to Steel. So I like to run Roost. Bulkier Scizor in doubles is pretty nice. You know, it's hard to move. It's hard to get rid of. And then, of course, like a lot of the other mons on our team, will be given over the ability if it goes down. This is Technician. So Technician boosted Shadow Sneak isn't the worst thing in the world. Goes from 40 to 60. And it's all these little things, you know, all the little things help. Of course, you've got your stab. These aren't boosted by Technician. Maybe you could run something with 60s if you really care about the Technician boost. But you do get a boost to your Shadow Sneak, so the only thing I would really be concerned about running differently is maybe Assault Vest, Hariyama, and Thick Fat, and then pass on Thick Fat to Muk, and then Ice and Fire attacks do half damage. So there are some tweaks you can make to this team. I will be showing you some battles now of, like, you know, using it and blah blah blah. You get the idea. So we will cut to that in a second. So the first battle, you can of course see that they have a Katana, a Tapu Fini, Garchomp, and a Milotic. Now this battle doesn't finish because they actually DC'd, but most of what happened is still important enough to document. So we're going to get into it. We're just going to show you the turns that were in this battle. So he leads off with Katana and Milotic. I almost always lead off with Hydreigon and Muk, because this is quite a threatening combo. Unless, you know, they have like 2 fairy types, which is very rare. I go for the Fire Blast into Katana because I think it's sashed, but it's not sashed. I find out it's not sashed. Most of them run Focus Sash, but yeah, it just doesn't. So I live the Ice Beam. I'm really sure that I live the Ice Beam, so I'm like, fine, that's okay. And then I just crunch, you know, for the free damage. I could have also used Poison Jab, but I may have given it Marvel Scale or Competitive. I'm not sure which of them it is. So he goes into Tapu Fini. And, you know, obviously this is to scare my Hydreigon. Like, Hydreigon's basically a free kill, my opponent thinks here. He does get the Misty Seed, which is kind of weird. But I'll be swapping out my Hydreigon, because I don't see the need to give Levitate over yet. It's more of like a surprise when Garchomp does come out. But then he opts for the Light Screen. Again, maybe he didn't know I was choiced. But I go into my Azumarill because I resist a lot of their attacks. So he does go for the Ice Beam again into that slot, and you can see it does 25, I think it was. And now I Poison Jab into Tapu Fini because I see this more of a threat. It does it does about 70%. So he's like, nah, fuck this. So he switches that out, and then he reveals that he's got the Garchomp. So I'm like, okay, I've got the idea that I can give over the Levitate later on. He goes for Wrap, which I honestly thought was really weird, but he misses it anyway. Doesn't really matter. I Poison Jab into the Garchomp, and he Rough Skins. And right now I just see that I've got a free Belly Drum. So I Belly Drummed, and I didn't get punished for it at all. You can also run the Belly Drum Z move instead of a Berry. I'd left that out in the team preview bit, but yeah, you can definitely use normal aim Z. And now he reveals these Mega Garchomps, so I can just Aqua Jet and protect just in case, you know. I didn't have to protect there, I could have just crunched. I was kind of scared of something, but I don't know. I don't know why I protected in hindsight. He does just go for the recover though, but I mean, it's like, what can you really do here, honestly? I have a +6 Azumarill, and you sent out something that dies to another Poison Jab, so he inevitably realizes that he's lost, and then he DCs from the game. So there's the first game that I wanted to document. So in game 2, you can see again he's got some power on his team. Like, he's got some very strong mons. He's got the Garchomp again. There's an Aegislash, there's a Metagross, and there's an Alolan Ninetales. Very strong, very fast team, bar the Aegislash. So we're just gonna start out the battle and see how it plays out. He also made me wait 2 minutes during the team preview thing, so it just chose the first 4 Pokemon in his list. But yeah, I'm not salty about that at all, I promise. So he leads off with the Aegislash and the Garchomp. And again, I lead off with Hydreigon and Muk. It's just so... I think it's so cookie cutter, but he actually made a smart play here and went into his Ninetales, thinking that I was Scarfed. So I said it at the time, like, I was really impressed that he actually did that, because most people would be like, yeah, I can kill this Hydreigon easy. But he had some sort of prior knowledge to me being Scarfed, and he went for that. And then he Sacred Swords into my Hydreigon. But of course, I lived that, and then I can hit him with the Crunch. That, I think, was a misplay on his part, because Aegislash is, you know, it's a very annoying Pokemon to take care of if it's played correctly. And now he'll go into his Metagross, and I'm pretty scared right now of my Hydreigon. So once again, I switch out turn 2. This time I go into my Trevenant. I'm kind of confident I can live an Ice move, but he does just opt for the Dazzling Gleam. You know, it's a spread move, doesn't do a great deal of damage. And here he uses Meteor Mash and misses, which you'll see in a second kind of sucks. Like, my Crunch does a decent amount of damage, And now he'll Ice Beam into my Trevenant, which at this HP will take me out, which isn't the end of the world considering that I can pass on the Harvest. And now I get the opportunity to have my Lumberry harvested if I do get paralyzed or something of that nature. You can see that he hits this Meteor Mash and it does a lot more damage, and I would have actually gone down on this turn, which means I also wouldn't have taken out this Ninetales. So yeah, 90% moves are very, very dicey when they miss. And now he brings out the Garchomp, so I already suspected that because he left me waiting for 2 minutes. So I clicked Azumarill knowing that he had Garchomp remaining. He does Mega Evolve and reveal that he's got the Mega Garchomp. And this thing loses some speed, but it gains a lot of strength. So I just go for the Shadow Sneak and the Aqua Jet into Metagross. Because my plan here is just to get rid of Metagross and bring the Ninetales back in, just so, you know, both mons are on the field. So I'm probably going to take an Earthquake hit. Oh, he Dragon Rushed. Yeah, that's right. So he Dragon Rushed, which is 90% move as well. And that missed. So, yeah, I've said it before, guys. Like, if you're going to run Fire Blast instead of Flamethrower, realize that you will miss. At some point, you will miss. And it may just cost you the game. Same with, like, Iron Head and Meteor Mash. Like, I know it's not standard to run something like Iron Head. It might not even get Iron Head. Metagross, that is. So yeah, very unfortunate that that missed, but it just does prove that things like this happen. Like, I could miss Fire Blast or Draco Meteor. I could miss this Draco Meteor, and then I'd lose. Or I have a chance to lose, but I land the Draco Meteor, and that's going to be enough of Garchomp. So that's basically what happened in Game 2. Okay, so in Game 3, this is kind of like a novelty game, because, you know, you can see he's got 3 Psychic types. But I'm still just going to show you how this team plays out against it. So, of course, I see he's got an Espeon, a Starmie, a Tapu Lele, and a Decidueye. So, again, I bring the same 4 Pokemon. I haven't even got a chance to use my Hariyama or my Scizor. But, once again, we're just going to click play. I will get better at talking one of these days. One of these days, I'll be so good at talking and narrating that I won't ever make mistakes. But that is not this day. So, standard lead, Hydreigon and Muk. He goes for the double Psychic lead into double Dark. So, you know, he's already really behind. I'm fearing the Dazzling Gleam from the Espeon. So I'm like, nah, fuck this. Shadow Sneak into that for some damage. And then Dark Pulse. So it's definitely off the field. Like, I do not want to get double Dazzling Gleamed. Because that just might kill my Hydreigon. It'll do a lot of damage in general. And then he just goes for the Scald with his Starmie. And he gets the burn, which, you know, would be bad. But we got that Lumberry. So I was really happy that it actually paid off at some point. And then he just brings in the monster. Like, it's here. This blocks my Shadow Sneak. But it's not the end of the world. I go for a Dark Pulse, you know, just for some damage. That's all I really wanted. And he goes for the Surf on Starmie. So he's got 2 water moves. So in my head, I'm thinking, this thing is useless. Like, why? I'm not even going to go for this thing. If I take out the other 3 things, then I can beat that with my other, like, my Trevenant, my, I forget the name, Azumarill. So my Hydreigon goes down to a Moonblast, and now my Muk has Levitate. So now I have no weaknesses, and I crunch into the Tapu Lele, which now goes down, because of doubling into it. Because, like I said, I'm not even going to touch the Starmie. Like, there's no point. So I bring in the Trevenant next, because once the Decidueye goes down, I had a feeling that he might bring this. So I was like, oh, he's going to Z-move into his Decidueye and use like Sinister Arrow Raid or something. But then he goes, you know, the flappy water, and then he water Z-moved. So pretty big waste of time on both of our parts here, because this thing is pretty useless. But my plan during this turn was to crunch with the Decidueye. Into the Decidueye with Muk, sorry. I know I can live a Shadow Claw because I'm max HP, you know, I take that generously actually. I get the Citrus Berry, and then again, in a second when I use my move, I use Horn Leech into the Starmie O-Code. And then I get all my HP back, and it's like he didn't even use an attack. So kind of embarrassing on his part. I felt pretty good about this. And then I just crunch with my Muk. and once again that goes down. So really good team. Like, his team was more of a gimmick, I know, all that, but I'm having a lot of fun with this team. Like, sometimes I go up against something that just, like, you know, it's like 4 Ultra Beasts, or you get the Torkoal Instruct, which sometimes you can't kill it properly, or kill it fast enough, or put enough damage into it. But other than that, this team is really good. Like, it's very fun against all the powerful stuff. For not being very fast, it does take on and beat a lot of the faster teams. So hopefully, like, this team inspires you to use some of it, or to start building some teams kind of like this. I know it inspired me to do so, so shout outs to the people on the Discord who are always, like, asking for help on their teams. I do a lot of one-to-ones where I help you build a better team, and it also inspires me to build more teams, or breed more mons, or try stuff out. So yeah, there'll be a link to my Discord below if you want that sort of peer-to-peer advice, because I've been in competitive Pokemon since Gen 5, so yeah, enough rambling. This video is probably about 21 minutes long, so I'm sorry for the extra long video, but I didn't want to just do a Theorymon video, like, here's the team, go use it. Like, I'd rather show you how to use it, and that it actually works. So if you want more of these videos, then make sure to let me know, because I'd be down to do them. And yeah, that's all the time we have in this video, so thank you all so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you again soon.